Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Teamwork, a Better Way podcast. I'm Christian Napier, and I'm joined by the proud Paisley Patriot, Spencer Horn. Spencer, how are you doing this fine morning?
No one does as well at alliteration than you, Christian. So I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Another cloudy day here today. I think we might be getting a little bit of snow later this afternoon. But it
Yeah,
was great to see you over the weekend. We had a huge amount of fun and sunnier climbs down in where were we? We're in San Antonio
you
for the
forgot
National
already.
Speakers Association Thrive Convention.
Yeah, that was a great conference, and I loved being in San Antonio. It was fun to have you there and John, who works with you, and we got to go out to dinner several times. My favorite was that Mi Tierra. Wasn't that? I thought that was fantastic.
I don't know, but these whatever those nachos were with the steak on them, that meat was delicious. It was super tender. It was really, really tasty. And what a fun environment and vibe right there in San Antonio. Yeah, huge amount of fun. The conference was fantastic. It was great to see you and 300 of your fellow professional speakers learn how to build their businesses, and I was just honored to be a small part of it.
Yeah, great weekend to learn about running business, and today we get to continue learning right with our guest.
Oh, I'm super excited to introduce him. Steve Ramona was connected. We were connected by a mutual acquaintance last year, and he's a phenomenal individual. Steve, been working since he was young, but he's not a traditional 9 to 5 kind of guy. He's got that entrepreneurial spirit, and he learned early on working in his health club, the importance of customer service. And one of the things that I really like about Steve is he believes that service is win-win for everybody. It's not a win-lose type of thing. And his mantra is well, for that we're kind of paraphrasing today or adapting for our own podcast is leading with a servant's heart. And he truly does do everything with a servant's heart. He's a fantastic networker. He connects with people. He helps people grow. He's got an interesting technology solution called InPhone that I'd like to ask about because I'm a technology geek and I love that
I
stuff too.
actually asked GPT what is InPhone, so I'm excited to learn about what it is too.
Yeah, and he also has a podcast that he recently launched called "Doing Business with a Servant's Heart." Was just super awesome, and he really emphasizes serving, not selling. And so I'm super excited to welcome Steve to our podcast. Steve, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
So thank you for having me, guys. You're making me hungry. It's early out here in California, but I love talking the food talk. You could talk food talk all day with me.
Oh my goodness, Steve, we are brothers from another mother. Spencer, you, me, we love our food. It's not only a topic of conversation; it is an activity that we indulge in on a frequent basis.
We
We
almost talk about food every podcast, where we've eaten, what. Don't we? It's our lives center around the culinary experiences that we have. So
Love it, love it, love it.
Well, Steve, to kick us off, why don't you talk about a little bit your background and how you came up with this concept of doing business with a servant's heart, where that came from. In our conversations, that's something it's been core to you. It's super important to you. So I'm just curious if you can just kind of give our audience a little bit the genesis of this idea of doing business and leading with a servant's heart.
I'll try to keep this short, but it's very interesting. When I was our younger environment, when we were in our teens, one of our parents we were going to relate to. And I related to my dad in the sense that he was an entrepreneur for his whole life. He always had his own company. He was a contractor, and I loved my dad's life. He probably worked too hard, and I'd probably do the same thing, but I loved the freedom that he had. He could come to my football games, my baseball games, and go back to work. Well, that led to us launching a health club that I started working at the front desk at in 79, just out of high school, and just meeting peers and developing relationships with people 20, 30, 40 years older than me. and not being scared about that. Learning, first time I did it was, okay, I got to make sure I give him the towel right, his right key. I don't want to upset this guy, to where people are giving me business tips or personal tips as they come in and as they leave, because you're meeting these people almost daily, some, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And that really caught my eye. And my cousin Jeff built our health clubs around service. You got to tell when you came in. And one thing I always remembered is I did, and I told the staff, when somebody walks in, say, hey, Christian, welcome to the gym. Have a great workout. If you don't remember their name, look on the computer that's in front of you and cheat. Because you're not going to remember every. We probably had 8, at the time, 4,000 or 5,000 members. So you're not going to remember everyone, but always acknowledge them. And when they left, hey, Christian, have a great day. Thanks for coming by. Hope you had a great workout. Simple things like that really boosted our business to where we eventually had 3 health clubs and had probably over 10 to 15,000 members at one time. So it was a powerful tool I learned.
So it's so wonderful that you had that example with your father, and having had the opportunity to work with my father, I love that, and those are great memories that you have. So just that simple act of greeting and giving a towel and saying goodbye. I mean, so what did your customers say? How did they respond to this?
Became friends. We would go out and have dinner. Some, not all of them. I would have dinner all forked out, but it became more than a membership. It became a family. Because, think about it. You walk into a gym, at least our experience at a gym, you're having a bad day, and here's Steve Ramona going, hey, Christian, have a great workout. So excited to have you here. Just that little sentence could turn a guy from a bad day to a good day, a woman from a good day, bad day to a good day. And I heard that a lot across the board for 22 years. Even to this day, I have people come to me, go, when you guys open another health club, you had the greatest club because of the attitude and the culture. And that was all built at the start.
That it seems so small and so simple. It's amazing that something so easy that costs absolutely nothing can have such a big impact. Jan and I, we were returning from San Antonio, Christian, and we flew Southwest. I know you flew Delta, but we went the next day, and our gate, I don't know what you call it, gate master, or the guy who was welcoming us, he was having fun with everybody, getting them all riled up and cheering. But then he did something that I don't think I've ever seen. He acknowledged every single person, not just, hey, have a great flight. It was, I like your glasses. Oh my gosh, your shorts are amazing. Watch your head. I mean, he was and so I was watching, and I'm like, I wonder what he's going to say to me or that person. And everyone was looking for a little bit of attention, just to be acknowledged. And he was a little silly about it, but it was fun and memorable.
I love that, because somebody's scared of flying. He may have changed their flight and being more comfortable. And here's the thing, you remembered after. It's 2 days later, you still remember that. That's the power of positive energy and serving. That, I think, that goes together. It's hard to serve when you're in a negative state. It just is. And sometimes you have to fake it, but that's okay, because people don't even know what's going on with you. It's how you're affecting them. And that's what I believe in serving. And, again, customer service at our health club, it was a 20-year learning experience. To be very blunt, better than any college I went to would have probably not taught me than that 20 years experience.
So I have a question for you here, Steve. We've been talking a lot about your experience with the customers. Our podcast, we really focus on leadership and teams. And I'm curious how you might apply these principles of servant leadership, of customer service, not just to your customers, but also to your employees, your team members. How did you, whether it's in your health clubs or with InPhone or other organizations you've been involved in, how have you applied these concepts of servant leadership within your own organization, with your employees, with your team members?
Great question. The first thing it starts with, you need to lead by example. We hear that in books and people talk about, but it is so true. If you tell your employee to do something that you haven't done or don't know how to do, they're going to think twice. Especially nowadays, the world is so much different than it was back in the 80s and 90s when we had our health club. But it's also training. When I'm out there as the owner of the manager of the health club and I'm greeting people, guess what? My staff, they're going to see that I'm doing it. Instead of saying, hey, staff, greet people, do this, and I never do it. I sit in my office all day. My cousin used to get on me, get out of your office. You need to be on the floor. And it was the greatest learning experience. He probably said it firmer than that because he was passionate about our business. But team is so important. It's why I love your podcast. Your employees do not work for you, they work with you. If you can get that across in your company, that they're the most important asset in your company, I don't know a company that hasn't flourished because of that. And that's serving. That's taking care of them. I'm going to do a shout out, Trader Joe's. My wife works there. It's amazing how they live by. They tell their managers, you have 5 weeks off, 4 weeks off. We want you to take that and spend time with your family. Not sitting back as an owner of a company or a CEO going, God, I got all this free, I got to pay somebody for a vacation. It's going to cost me money, but I really want them to take it. That is serving. That is putting out good to the world, to your staff, which leads to your customers, which leads to those customers walking out your establishment or walking out your online, virtual, whatever, and saying, you know what, you need to go back to this company. They took care of me. Just like the story you just said previously. The domino effect of serving in team compounds. If 2 employees do it, you bring on 5 new ones. Now you've got 7 new employees, and they start training their own employees to serve as the foremost in their head, in their mind. The growth of a company will be dramatic. And guess what? It's going to be fun working there. And if we work with young kids like we did in the health club, these are 18, 19, 20-year-olds. If you didn't make it fun, they weren't going to stay, or they weren't going to.
Hey, you're muted, Spencer.
I think that's true not only of the teenagers, but of the young, Gen Zs as well today. I just had the opportunity to start coaching a new emerging leader for a client of mine that I've been working with a bit. But they asked me to work with this individual who's just high value and just really, really a great person within the team. And surprisingly, she was telling me of an experience when she was in management at a fast food restaurant, which I don't want to name, but because she told me, she said, as part of their management training, that they actually created a scenario where your people are all busy, you are available, and the floor needs to be swept. What do you do? And she's like, I'm going to sweep it up. And that's the wrong answer, according to this organization. And, in her teams right now, she runs a team of 22 people, and she does exactly what you're talking about. She says, there is no way that I can get my people to do the work accurately and correctly if I am not able to be alongside of them and teach them and show them the shortcuts and the challenges and the things they need to look out for. And if I don't do that, I can't teach them. The danger, though, that I want you to talk about is, can you serve too much? Is there a problem of taking on too much as a leader?
Yeah, there can be, and I've been known to do that because I'm such a servant's heart. It's foremost in my head, law of increase. Yeah, you've got to learn to back away, but be side to side with them, that staff member, that team that you're working with, but don't do all the work for them. Because I was thinking as you were talking that when you're learning to be a servant or serving in your industry, you could teach all the tools, all the cash register, all the job that entails. But when you've got somebody serving and you've got somebody not serving, it's pretty glaring. And you've got to make that decision as a leader to go, this is not working for our company, our business. We need to move on from that, because the old bad apple in the bushel, It's the same thing with serving. You have 4 or 5 great employees, but you have one that's not good, that's treating the customers wrong. It's not good. And I'll leave an example. I'm about ready, thinking of writing a book called How to Be a Great Customer. Because to me, serving, it goes both ways. It's the management and staff have to be good servers, serving mentality, but so does the customer. Don't walk in a grocery line. We've all been there and it's packed, and they got that one person yelling at the checker, get more get more stands open. This is crazy. Well, we don't know if they've got 3 people called in sick, something happened or whatever it may be. As a customer, you need to be serving hard as well. You need to be aware of that. And I've talked to about 100 managers of restaurants, and I'll do this. And it's every time it's been a good wait staff. The wait staff comes in and we get done with our meal, and I say, hey, Debbie, the waitress, can you go grab your manager? Sure. 99 out of 100 times, one time it didn't happen, I see a face of, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I say, hey, Debbie was incredible. She had her water filled. She talked to my wife about their kids. She was such a great experience. Thank you. And all 9 of them said, I never, ever hear that. All I hear is the food was cold. It was late. You brought the wrong plate. Why did you do that? Can you give me a refund? Down the road. They never hear when they serve and take care of you. I think that should be flipped. Now, when you have a problem, there's a way to serve with, excuse me, hey, there's been a problem. How can we solve this? Let's work this out with my plate. Instead of going, hey, I want my meal taken care of. I want a full refund. And this is crap. It's not going to work with humans. It's going to really put people back, right?
So you're actually saying serve as a customer. That's a novel experience. And, we heard this weekend of a gentleman who is he's so funny. He has fun wherever he goes. And he gets so much consideration from hotels and restaurants just because he has fun with people and he acknowledges them. And you're right. It's very, very rare. Steve, I have this principle that I call the bathroom principle. I talk about it. And if you want to know if an organization is run by good servant leaders, go and use their bathrooms and see if they're clean. Because if the people care and are treated well, they're going to have clean bathrooms. And I remember a time when I was a director of operations for a theater. We were in Branson, Missouri, and we were competing against live theaters, and tour buses would come, and they just it was just a great experience, but it was an interactive experience. It wasn't your normal theater. Hey, let me buy a ticket, go to a show. We interacted with the audience, and we had a bathroom experience because, you just want to have clean bathrooms when you have customers. And if you've ever been to a public place where they haven't been great, that's, long story short, we actually had fun with our competitor, Shoji Tabuchi, a Japanese fiddle player, had amazing bathrooms. We could never compete with that. And we actually had jokes, in our bathroom to kind of tease about that. But one day we had a customer come in that had a problem, ate something and didn't agree with them, and they made a terrible mess in the men's room. And we didn't have a janitorial staff. It was just the regular floor employees were supposed to take care of the bathrooms. And I remember coming down from my office, and the men were just gagging. They're like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going in. You go in. No, I'm not going in. And nobody would do anything. So I went in and cleaned it up. And from that point on, Steve, there was nothing that I couldn't ask those guys to do that they wouldn't do. As leaders, we got to deal with some crap sometimes that we certainly can't expect our people to deal with crap if we won't.
I love it. And it's like I was saying earlier, that's a great story. And I'm going to definitely share that. And you're right. It's simple to be a servant, but it's only simple if it's in your mindset. That's you teach leadership, that's got to be in your mindset. We know companies, part of what you were talking about, this fast food industry, and that's an industry I think needs help because I think it's got its stigma of that because it's fast food, but it doesn't have to be. Who says you can't walk in a fast food restaurant? If I started a fast food restaurant, it would be like a fine dining, but you're just selling $5 burgers. I guarantee you it'd be packed because you're right. People notice. They don't tell you, but they notice. But they'll tell you those bad things, like I said, about the managers at restaurants. It just blew me away, guys, how, and it really, these guys were, male and female, were emotionally bothered by me think they're going to give them a negative feedback and yell at them.
Because that is the norm. And I see that with most managers, pointing out everything that their people are doing wrong and not catching them doing things right, which is also a form of service.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, who wants to? I tell people that I talk to and help, think about what you're saying to them. Would you want it said to you? Would you guys like to be screamed at because you missed a speck on the floor? It wasn't perfect. Instead of, hey, next time, Tony, here's how to do it. Let me show you the better way. That's serving. And the guy's going to go, he'll probably do it well. And if he doesn't, then he's not a fit for your business, and that's okay. Serving can really qualify a lot of your staff if you focus on it. And there's other details, but culture is all built on serving. With InPhone, we're going to talk about in a minute. I was in a networking meeting with a number of clients, and they were all jumping in saying, I love Steve. I love working with Steve. He was there for me. He answers my questions. Simple stuff to me, but those 3 clients of mine were so excited they told the other 8 people. And guess what? I'm going to get more sales or more referrals from that because I took care of them. I don't serve to get paid. I don't serve to get referrals. I serve, and in Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, the law of increase. What value can I give you today? It may be just me smiling at you, or just say, you're, like you said with this person at the airlines, he just made value to everybody. It wasn't something, but what a cute kid, what a great ponytail. I've done that so many times. You could see the parents just smiling because we all are human, and guess what? We all want to be acknowledged. Why not do it? Just acknowledge them. You'll find something good about somebody.
So, Steve, it sounds to me, with all of the examples that you've shared and the experiences that you've related to us today, that this really comes down to empathy. You're putting yourself in other people's shoes. Okay, well, what if you mentioned the grocery store situation and how the thought might have occurred to you, well, what if they're short staffed? They're down 3 checkers, right? So it's not a matter of thinking about yourself, but it's really about thinking about other people. I'm curious where that came from. Where did this I don't know if skill is the right word, but this character or this characteristic of empathy, where did that come from for you, and how have you developed that in other people?
Well, my father, first of all, again, going back to, my dad was an Italian man, grew up in the Depression, as we all know, it's a very tough time, but he also took care of, when the guy was there, he bonus people, because at the time when he was a contractor, he just was getting different trades to come in. And if a guy took care of it, my dad made some good money, he'd give him a little extra for the extra work he did, or he'll go out of his way. My cousin, Jeff, who ran the health clubs, I am proud. He's been one incredible mentor to me, because all we talked about in every conversation is, how can we make our members a better experience? How can we serve them better? What can we add to our business? And guess what? I became involved with a flourishing health club that made money, but also did very well in business and grew to 3. And we, sold for, great value. So when I saw that and got finished, I'm like, I need to emulate that. Now I started reading Think and Grow Rich. I've been studying that for the last couple of years, watching other people, other successful people, seeing, hey, Tony Robbins, I saw a video of him working with some people and how he showed empathy. This guy, he's got everything in the world. Sir Richard Branson. I just learned about him and how he does the same thing. Well, if those guys can do it and they got to the level they are, why can't Steve Ramona do it and help others? And here's the bottom line, guys. When I serve somebody and they get so excited, it changes my day. And I'll share a story with you. I've shared with a lot of people. A few years ago, during my day at work, it was a tough day. A couple canceled appointments. I had somebody were not renewal, just negative things hitting me every, which way. So at 2:00, which I rarely do, I quit. So I'm done working today. Went to the grocery store, get some groceries for the family. And I got I'm a faith guy, and I got this spirit, something happened to me and said, I want to buy this lady's groceries. Just, I don't know where it came from. So I gave my card to the clerk, and he's 21. He's like, dude, what are you doing? Dude, what are you paying for groceries? I said, yeah, just let me do it. I want to do it. So, okay, that's kind of weird. So that's no problem. So she's like, oh, you don't need to. I said, no, I need to do it. It's just something that's just come to me. So I did it. It's like $40. Wasn't a lot of money, and that doesn't matter. Gives my card back. I pay for my groceries. I'm walking out. She introduced herself as Debbie. She had a baby in her arms. She starts tearing up, and she says, Steve, my husband lost his job last week. He just got laid off. I didn't know how we were going to pay for some groceries. This is going to help us so much. And I hugged her, and I said, no, I'm glad. I wasn't aware, but I'm glad, and I'm glad you accepted it. But as I'm leaving, I thought of this. The thing about serving is serving as a team where it compounds. Debbie's going back to her husband and telling this story. 9 out of 10 times, those people are going to go, Steve just served us. Who can we serve today, tomorrow, or the next day?
Sorry,
I love that song, by the way. I call that compound serving because I tell everybody, you change your own little world. Us three can't change the world, but if all of us change our little worlds and we put those all together, the world will be in a better place. Serving can be so compound, like this person at the airlines. I'll go back to that. How many of those people had such a great experience? They're going to go, what airlines were you on? What airlines was it?
It was Southwest.
So I probably shouldn't, but that's okay. Those people are going to go back and go, I just had a great experience with Southwest. That's the impact from the business, from the financial side. Because people ask me that all the time. Well, I need to make money. I said, serving will lead you there. And that story I just told you. Go ahead.
This was our thought. If people have a great experience going into the theater, they didn't have a problem. They were greeted. The bathrooms were clean. They were made to feel welcome. They were laughing. When they sat down for the show, they're going to say, I can't wait for this to start. But if they had to wait in line and they weren't greeted, they were ignored, the bathroom was dirty, they sit in there and their thought is, this better be good. And so it's just a different energy that creates a threshold of experience that people take out and share with everyone. So it absolutely is a multiplier factor. The question I have is, you talk about, so in a way, this is related to my question, what we're talking about, but you say that serving helps businesses overcome obstacles. Well, getting revenue is one of the obstacles you just brought up, and how does that help me do that? But what other obstacles, and talk further about how that impacts the bottom line, and what are some other challenges that businesses can overcome?
Well, that's a great question. I was going to address this, and I'm glad you brought it up. Let's think about this. Somebody has a great experience like you just told us about the theater. Well, when something bad happens, because it always will, the bathroom doesn't work, the power whatever that obstacle happens, as humans, we're more likely to give them a pass. Like, it was okay, that was a problem, but they took care of me. So when you serve and take care of your team, your customers, your clients, when a bad thing happens, they're going to look past it. For example, you go to a restaurant, this happened to us, and the food came really late. It's never happened before. We've been there 5 or 6 times. They've taken care of us, but we didn't get upset. We just mentioned, hey, the food's late. The guy forgot to put the order in. Instead of screaming and yelling, and this is a terrible restaurant, because of our past experiences, we keep going back there. Build up goodwill with serving within your business. Doesn't matter what business you are. Build that goodwill up. It builds the energy, as you said. When an obstacle happens, guess what? It's not a mountain, it's a molehill. You can get past it, especially if you take care of it.
So, Steve, to get your message out, I mean, you network with millions of people. I mean, you're so incredibly networked. But you recently launched a podcast to get the word out even more about servant uh, leading or doing business with a servant's heart. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, I've wanted to do a podcast for a while. Didn't know how to start it. I'm a DIY guy. I'll jump on YouTube. And one of my clients for InPhone reached out to me and wanted to introduce me to a community. And it's a podcast community with Josh Tapp. It's called Pantheon. And what they do is they help build legacy podcasts to a 1% level, meaning your top 1% of all 100 million podcasts in the world. And with tools and resources and masterminds, it was a complete, God blessed me tremendously with Pantheon, because now I can take this servant mentality and bring it to the masses. I can only meet a few people at a time, but with my podcast, I can reach thousands forever, and people can go back to it. So when I met Pantheon and Kyle, who I met with for the first time, I got excited. We talked again and came aboard, and I was serving in business was the first name because that's what came to me. And then one mastermind we were doing, about 12 of us, one of the guys in there is a brand guy. He helps build your brand. And Rich goes, and I bless him every day. He said, hold on a second. I like serving a business, but I got something. How about doing business with a servant's heart? Slam dunk. Said that was it. That's exactly what I'm doing, because I want to help business owners, startups, people that are close to failing because of COVID, don't know how to pivot. Serving can help you pivot in your business. So now I've got guests. I have a gentleman that's in a wheelchair. He is 2 world records in water skiing, and he's got 2 gold medals. And he's one of the top financial advisors in the country. And now he's coaching NHL players. Another gentleman who is a football player with BYU, Jeff Griffin, look at my podcast, listen to his story. He was doing some summer work, and he was on top of a ladder and fell off a 10-foot ladder and became a paraplegic in a wheelchair. And those 2 gentlemen told me they went through the pity party and sympathy. And one person in their life said, hey, the Lord's kept you on this earth. You could have died. Let's make good with your life. And now Jeff, just last year, has worked with a company that was doing $50 million in sales. They want to level up. By the end of the year, they hit $250 million in sales. And he did that with using his story, his strategy, and turning it around and serving this business. And of course, he got paid. Well, there's value to what he did, but he used his story to serve this company and serve others. So I'm excited about all these different stories, these obstacles people overcame, what they're doing. They leave a great tip, a great book they've read, so people can learn and grow their business or their personal life with this. One of my guests, Max Lambright, who works with CEOs and teaches them how to be better CEOs, one phrase that he said I'll never forget: we are all CEOs of our own lives. Treat your life like a CEO, like it might be a business, and your life will be much better. To me, that's so powerful, because he's so right. We need to run our life especially if you're married like I am. You've got your wife, you've got kids here, you've got all these components like a business. That's my team, my wife and my kids. I've got to serve them as much as I would serve my employees or serve others like I do.
Hey, Spencer, you're on the old mute again.
Oh man, sorry, I got it. So, Steve, you said something very casually. There was a business that was at 50 million in sales, and they grew to how much in 1 year?
I believe it was 250 million. He talks about in the podcast. Yeah,
that's a pretty big increase. And the biggest thing that they were able to do differently was.
He has 3 Ds. I hope I say it right, but if it didn't, go into the podcast. The 3 Ds: dare, dream, and do.
Well, the reason I do that is people say, well, how fast can this turn things around if I'm serving? Well, let me put it the other way. If you're not serving your people, if you are treating them as machinery, as equipment, as property. I see this all the time. I mean, people are burned out. They're exhausted. The rate of change in the world today is so high. The anxiety is so great. The stresses that the teams have to deal with because of the constant need for changing and updating and dealing with a new economy and uncertainty is almost unbearable for a lot of people. And if you're not serving your people, they're gone. And it is very, very difficult to be able to train and replace constantly. That's a huge anchor that drags the growth of your organization down if you're not serving your people. It's not about, people think that, it's just giving away the farm. It's not. It's giving your time. I mean, to me, one of my greatest mentors, he was tough. He had high standards. He expected a lot. He used to tell me, "Listen, I don't care if it takes you 20 hours a week to do your work, just get it done." And it was always 80, and I was making $45,000 a year. But he gave me his time, and I love that man because of what he taught me and everything that he did to mentor and serve me and my family.
Yeah, time is the important thing, because people ask me all the time, okay, I want to serve. What do I do? Well, I'm sure there's a soup kitchen around. There's Homo Chef. There's a database. I don't have it in front of me, but they can search for it. There's a database of ways you can search volunteering in your area across the country. And you're right. It could be just time. It could be, I tell people, you know what? Go through your contact list and who's somebody you haven't talked to in a while. Just give them a call and say, hey, I miss talking to you. You just served that person. You never know that maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they a really bad day, maybe tragic. But to hear from you, that's pretty powerful. And that's
Well, Steve, I'll tell you what. Right now, having you on has been really, really educational and inspirational for me personally. I've really enjoyed that. Now, when Spencer puts the spotlight on you and we see you full frame, you've got a QR code behind you with info, and I'm curious what that's about. So I'm wondering if you can just, as we wrap up our conversation here today, if you can just tell us what that QR code's about and what's InPhone and what are you and what's your involvement with them?
Yeah, I'm one of the partners in InPhone. I'm the global sales director, and it's advanced my serving because with InPhone, I did 1,000 referrals last year, and not all my clients. See, that's the thing. When people say, when you refer people, they have to be your client. I say, absolutely not. That's not serving. If I help you, Christian, or I help you, Spencer, and I got a client or a resource for you, I'm going to give it to you because this shouldn't be about money. Now, on a real quick side, when you serve, your universe changes. It does for me. It may not be money. It may be connecting with you two. Look how my universe has changed. I'm able to share my story and meet two great guys like you that are doing great things in this world. So keep in mind, the reward will come. Don't know when it will be. Don't serve to do that, but it will come in many different forms. Now, with InPhone, what we do is when you do a meeting with somebody, you meet them in person or you do a virtual online meeting, and at the end, you're going to share contact info via email, text, whatever. Here's the problem. When somebody tries to find you a week later to refer you or ask you a question, 40%, maybe 50% of the time, they can't find it, or they misspelled the email, or they misspelled your website. What we do is we take people's businesses, we turn them into an app. It's called a web app. So it comes off the browser. It doesn't land in the Play Store. So we use your headshot or your logo and we put it on everybody's phone. So when people are going through their phone, they're going to see my logo for InPhone with my name, Steve Ramona. Why is that powerful? Because people do 20 to 100 swipes a day on average, I read. So they're going through their phone and they're going to see you 1, 2, maybe 10 times a day. They may click on the app and learn about your business. We have a slider that tells a story about your business, gives you credibility. And then we have buttons that people can click and learn about your business, purchase from your business, book an appointment with your business, Watch videos about your business. Learn everything about your business in one location 24/7. It's so powerful, Spencer and Christian. I've had over 30,000 people click on my InPhone over 2 years. Just last month, I had 700. I'm connecting with a lot of people, and that's because of InPhone. And we need a tool to leave somebody with, because that's the way they're going to contact with. Might as well leave them a tool or a tool pad like we have that they can access more often, especially when you serve somebody and they remember you. You want to think about this. People I've talked to are so excited about referring you. If they can't find you, it gets frustrating and stressful. I got to find Spencer. I got a great person for him, but I can't find his information. I haven't talked to him in a month. And on a side note, I used to own a brick and mortar recycling business. And I used to keep track of the phone calls or emails I'd get from people that lost my information because they said, hey, I had Apple to work with you, or I had this company and I reached out and they can't use you anymore because they found somebody else. It added up over $50,000 in income I lost from lost referrals. Well, that number will change, but if we can save 2 or 3 referrals because your business is on somebody's cell phone, it's a win.
And Spencer,
you know what? Again. I keep pressing it.
Third time's the charm.
I'm watching it, and I press it, and it went on when I started, because it never stop. I got it. Stop going on. Mute. So here's the question. Talk to me about your extensive book directory. How do you use that to share with others and help them grow and succeed?
That came about from Pantheon. Nate from Pantheon, we were talking, and I said, I ask all my guests what's their favorite book, because I want to leave the audience with something they might be able to read. He goes, have you ever thought about doing a directory and just start cataloging all these? I'm like, what a fantastic idea. So I built a Google Doc that's got a link that you see, and they can click on it. And as I get books, I just have another one this morning I'm going to add. I add books, and they can click on the Amazon link and learn about it and buy the book right from there. I've started reading the last 2 years more than I've ever read in 59 years of my life. Yeah, I'm 61, and I love it. And it's changed me. And I want to give people, again, it's time. This world, we're so busy. Time is such an important part of our lives. People come to me all the time. Hey, what's a good book to read? I now send them to the directory.
I love that. How do we find that? Yeah. How do we find that link?
Reach out to me. You can reach out to me via my InPhone at InPhone, INPHONE.co/SR1, or scan the QR code while you're watching this show and reach out to me. Send me a text, email, or call me, and I'll send you a link to the book directory.
Excellent.
So if each of us were to leave a book in your directory today, I'm looking around. I've been looking at this. This book was recommended to me, called Venture Deals. Excellent book. If it's not in the directory, so I'll nominate that to be added to your doc.
Send it to you. Email me that information, and I'll look it up on Amazon. If you don't have the link, I'll look it up. Again, Spencer, I love you guys so much, because that's another way I served. It's no cost to anybody. Could I charge a script? I might be able to, but you know what? It'll take me a minute to find it. The Venture Deals, Christian, put it in the directory, and now I'm helping thousands of people. Again, that's how you want to think, because it's going to lead to money for me. I do need money. We all need money.
Unfortunately.
But boy, would the world be better, but we won't get into that story. But just find unique ways of serving. That was another unique way that somebody reached out, gave me an idea, and I just jumped on it. If it doesn't fit, don't do it. We're not saying, donate, to your church 50% of your money, 80% of your money. Do what you're comfortable doing, but do something. Again, it doesn't have to be money. I don't know why in this world people think of serving or servant, that's all about giving somebody money. If you go help somebody build their burned down house and you go spend a day there and help them build it, what a servant, I can't think of the word, servant job you did, because you helped them.
Yeah, no, that is, That is having empathy and
Yeah.
kindness, and that's what the world is looking for right now, with everyone focused on themselves. It's interesting, one of the things that we could spend more time on, we don't have, but all the problems that each of us have, the moment we start helping other people, it seems like our own problems start to just go away. They diminish, and our worries start to decrease as our happiness and gratitude increases. And so service does pay and comes back in so many more ways than growth in business, but just an overall happiness and
Yeah.
well-being. So, well, gosh, Christian, time has gone quickly. We've got to kind of bring this to a close, and I spent about half of the time unmuting myself, so I apologize to all you listeners. That doesn't happen very often.
Oh, it's all good, Spencer. No worries at all. So, Steve, you've given us several ways to reach out and contact you using the InPhone QR code that was displayed there. For listeners who are joining through audio and may not have the benefit of video, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Again, it's inphone.co/SR1, INPHONE.co/SR, the number one.
All right, fantastic. And Spencer, you're doing such great work with teams all around the world. Every week we have conversations. You're telling me about another client that you're serving, that you're helping uh, to build a better, more functional, successful team. So, for our listeners and our viewers who are consuming this at this moment, what's the best way for them to reach out and contact you?
I love it when you reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just Spencer Horn on LinkedIn. And Christian, tell us, how do we find you?
LinkedIn's great. Just look for Christian Napier on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with
I
anyone.
mean, I walked
And
by your booth at this conference, and there was always people that you were talking to. They were all coming and talking to Christian. Christian. I got to tell you, he actually uh, talk about serving and giving. He was talking to the executive director of the National Speakers Association and told about one of our chapter events that we have, a storytelling event. And because he did that, the person who started this was going to wait to tell the NSA, but Christian went in and did an introduction, and the timing was perfect. Because of that introduction, this program that this individual in our chapter had is going to be part of the national program, and he would have missed the window if Christian hadn't made that introduction. So that's giving, and that's Christian to a T.
well, Spencer is very kind. I probably stepped on his toes. I didn't mean to. I was just so enthusiastic about what this gentleman had done,
It was
the vision
perfect.
that he had for this particular event, that I just couldn't help myself. I just wanted to kind of share the love. And I will say, when we were there at National Speakers Association, we were asking, just Steve, for your benefit, we were asking professional speakers this question: what's the most important thing that you've done to build a successful speaking business? And we had 70 speakers actually come to our booth and record responses to this and a couple of other different questions. But I distinctly remember one speaker coming to our booth. I'm giving her a shout out, Chris Barney, and her response was serving others. That's the most important thing that I've done to build my successful business, is serving others. And so she has just kind of put the cherry on top of this conversation for us here, Steve, because it resonates with people in all walks of life. Serving really can help you. Helping others does help you. You don't do it out of self-interest. You do it out of true empathy and compassion for other people. So I'm so grateful for you coming and sharing your story with us, Steve. Viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us. And please like and subscribe to our podcast. We'll catch you again soon.